Hey, what's up you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you my weekly review of Black Sails on STARZ. This week we've seen Season 4, Episode 7. So really another doozy, another one that sort of got your mind racing, really. Not quite as, like action heavy as last week's episode was, but in a way it was really just as important. Even with Eleanor's death last week, we still had a lot of movements in this week's episode that really set the stage for these final 3 episodes we're going to be getting. And I just want to, again, just praise Black Sails this season. It's been really, really fluid, really, really consistent, to the point where I feel like I should get like a Black Sails poster. I really like the 100, but Black Sails kind of taking the rum this season, I guess you could say, right? I thought Season 1 was always really good, for what it was to start. Probably a bit slow for some people, but I still really liked it. Season 2 is even better. Season 3, I thought was the best so far, but now it's between Season 3 and 4 for me so far, and we'll just see how they end it. But yeah, like I said, we got a lot of moving pieces this week, with aftermath of Eleanor's death. So, of course, we have Woods Rogers, and sort of still mourning her, and we have Billy Bones. Billy, he makes a deal with Rogers, and so basically he's completely betrayed Flint, Silver, and his whole side, basically. And it's understandable to an extent, just because of how things have played out for him on that side of things. But early on, Billy is always like the moral type of character, but I think over the past season or so, he's sort of made some choices, or the way he's went about things have been a little bit off. This deal he made with Rogers here has sort of solidified, how we're going to feel about him for the rest of the series, I think. Sorry about that. And then we also had some very interesting things going on with Silver and Flint in this episode, in part again due to Billy sort of giving the idea that he needs to divide Silver and Flint in order to finally be able to get the better of them, because as we've seen and as they've said, when Flint and Silver are of the same mind, and when they're on the same page, there's really nothing they can't do. There's something they can't really find a way out of. But if there's something that divides them, it'll eventually put them against each other, then, And then, with that, we also had some interesting stuff going on with Jack Rackham, as he, seeks out Eleanor's great-grandfather, or her grandfather anyway, to try and get his help to go against Rogers. But, he is not very willing to do so, because he has not seen his own family in the greatest light in quite some time, and it doesn't seem like he's really too affected by hearing of Eleanor's death. But luckily her grandmother, his wife, seems to have as much influence or more than he does, with his business. So Rackham was able to attract her attention. And it seems like she kind of held a place for Eleanor, in her heart. She probably knew her a little bit more personally, I think, maybe. Or, she's at least willing to more so see the profit of the overall, arrangement, really. Although, Rackham does sort of say that maybe she doesn't believe so much in, what they can do as, the emotional response of, trying to do something for her. But the price for this is, pretty hefty. She wants, in order to get Rogers out of there, she wants a certain thing in return. She wants Rackham to kill Flint. And that's a pretty tall order, because Rackham's been kind of out of the direct loop with them for quite a while. And, just with everything that's gone on, and the army he has with him, Silver, it'd be really hard to pull off and get out of there alive, as he says. But he feels like if Flint is in the same position, he might consider it. Or at least he wouldn't feel too badly about, something happening to Rackham. They're certainly not as close as Silver and Flint or anything like that. But again, it is sort of like another angle, being sort of turned. And, I sort of understand what Jack's wanting to do here, and I even kind of liked how Max handled things in this episode. like before, I really did not like Eleanor or Max, but Eleanor sort of gained more of my respect with how she went out, and I did like her earlier on in the series. And Max is a character I've wanted dead, like even more so. But again, I'm kind of I'm kind of seeing her place too. Just looking at the series overall. Excuse me, I got a drink. But it's just water though. Nothing too exciting. So I like the intricacies of this deal potentially. Do I think Rackham is actually going to be able to pull it off? Do I think he's actually going to be able to kill Flint? I'd like to think not, because I like to think that Flint would be smart enough to see it coming in time, or something would happen, or it would intervene and not really be able to go through. Obviously, Flint found out about it, he'd easily be able to get the best of Rackham and things like that, but I guess it just sort of depends on how Rackham goes about it. Obviously, he wouldn't take on Flint head on, he'd have to be really smart and, really conniving about it, I guess, almost underhanded in a way. But if Anne helps him, if Anne Bonny helps him, then it might get a little bit sketchier. But I really would not like to see Flint just get killed, by the hands of Rackham or something because of that deal. If anything happens to Flint, I feel like it's going to be because of Silver deciding it. Flint's my favorite character. I think he's been the greatest pull for me in this show, and I've always been Team Flint. And speaking of Flint, him and Silver's deal this episode, his when they get the letter that Woods Rogers actually has Maddi. Maddi is actually alive, by the way, which is something Lavi told me last week, but I would like her to be alive, and it turned out she was. So that was good to find out. I think she's just such another really well played character on the show. And although I could have seen what her death would have done for the growing legend of Long John Silver, I can also see her place in staying with him for a while longer, being more of a factor continually. So she's held by Woods Rogers, and the deal is, to trade the treasure and, the gold, the money, everything, in order to get her back. And, Silver tries to go at the hypocrisy of Flint trying to make that deal now, when he, had sort of been on the other end of it in the previous episode or so, with being willing to forfeit the money or to gain another upper hand, but now he isn't willing to trade the money for, Maddi's life. And that seems like really, really selfish and almost like, cold of Flint. And, it is to some extent, of course. But, again, I think I can still sort of see Flint's thinking here. I defend Flint in almost every instance. But he even points out that Maddi probably wouldn't want them to completely forfeit, their main, backing with the war and everything. And it's not like Flint's completely leaving Maddi to die either. I think Flint does care about Maddi to some extent as well, with the time they spent together, the conversations they've had, and he does care about Silver as well. So he does have a plan to try and get her under the cover of night, without forfeiting the gold. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out, though. But just because Flint wasn't willing to just trade over the cash, it's not cash, but just because he wasn't willing to trade over the gold right away, it sort of makes Silver question him pretty harshly for the first time in a little while, really. So it's definitely planting the seeds for that divide between them, which is unfortunate, because their friendship that really grew in season 3 has been such a great backbone on the show. So it's unfortunate that we're seeing them divide now, but at the same time, it feels kind of natural for this style of story. But I think it's still really interesting. There's a lot of angles going against Flint here now. But I hope somehow Flint he makes it through somehow. I don't know. I love Flint, so hopefully it works out for him. But in this life, it is what it is, I guess. But I'm really curious to see how they're going to end everything. That should be really, really intense. And I really love this episode. I'm going to rate it a very strong 8.8, almost around 8.9 out of 10. I really liked it. Not like the action-heavy, stuff of last week, but at the same time, it is arguably almost as important, if not more important, for the final stage of things. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought about this one. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.